Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to another Fallout 76 video guide. Today we're going to be doing a detailed buff guide for melee users. We're going to be covering everything from mutations to perk cards to foods and more. Now I'll be listing all of the best in slot items as well as providing some alternatives just in case min-maxing was not your thing. Now this video will be a little bit long, so I will provide some timestamps below, so if you guys are looking for something specific, you'll be able to jump to it right away. But with that, let's go ahead and get this started. So to start things off, we have our food buffs. Now we do have our our carnivore mutation active, which does increase the benefits of all of our meat buffs. But the best food buffs to use is the Deathclaw Wellington for our strength and the Tasty Mutant Hound Stew for our percent melee. Now some alternative food buffs that you can use for our strength will be the Mole Rat Chunks with 2 strength, Deathclaw Steak with 4 strength, and the Stingwing Fillet with 4 strength. For the percent buffs, there are 2 different sets that you can go with. For the least amount of ingredients, you can go with the Light Mutant Hound Chops, Mutton Chops, or Yogi Ribs that all 3 give 20%. Unfortunately, you can only use 1. For the medium or the second best, which I would recommend for slightly more ingredients, is the Glowing Meat Steak, Mutant Hound Chops, Mutton Chops, and Yao Guai Ribs for 40% increased melee damage. Now that the food is taken care of, let's go ahead and check our magazines. Now I only have one type of magazine, and this is the best magazine. I'll give the alternatives here in just a moment, but for a carnivore user, the Backwoodsman 6 magazine is the best to use. The reason why is because it increases the benefits of all of your cooked foods. So we currently have 6 and 170 for our food buffs. If we take a Backwoodsman 6 right now, we are now getting 9 and 255, a pretty nice increase to our melee damage. Now for our alternative magazines, you can go with the Groknak 1, which increases the melee damage by 15%, or the US Covert Ops 8, which will increase your unarmed or knife damage by 25%. Now that we have our magazine and food buffs all taken care of, let's go ahead and check perk cards real quick. There is a certain perk card, or 2 perk cards I should say, that will definitely benefit you in the long run for any builds. Now, for our charisma, there is a perk card called Strange in Numbers that is a must-have for any and all builds, because if you're using mutations, this perk card will increase the benefits of them. So, with Strange in Numbers active, we do need to join a team with at least 1 mutated player. So we'll go ahead and join a team right now. And look at the values of our Wellington and Mutant Hound Stew. It's now 11.25 strength, and our Tasty Mutant Hound Stew is 319%. A very huge increase. Now, for our magazines and bobbleheads, we want to have the perk card Curator active because it does double the benefits. So bobbleheads are now 2 hours and magazines are an hour. So there are 3 different kinds of bobbleheads that you can use, the melee or the unarmed. Melee will work for all sorts of melee weapons, and just to show that it works for unarmed as well, here's our Power Fist with 486. We're going to be popping the melee bobblehead, go back to it, and there you go, 497. It does work for unarmed. But the best in slot for this type of weapon would have to be the unarmed bobblehead. It gives 25% increased damage instead of 20. Now the alternative to the bobbleheads is the strength bobblehead. This will give you an additional +2 strength. So there are 3 different chems that you can use: the Fury, Cycle Buff, or the Super Chem Mark III. At least those are the 3 that I would recommend. Now to get the Super Chem Mark III, you can equip the Brawling Chemist here under the legendary perk cards. Now, I recommend using the Super Chem Mark III, or Mark I, sorry, and only if you are pairing it with Chem Fiend. The reason why is because if we look at the cycle buff we have active right now, it goes up to 5 minutes. If we take a Super Chem, it is a 10-minute long buff, so we'll be able to use this for a longer duration compared to the cycle buff, but essentially both of the chems are exactly the same. Now the reason why I recommend those 2 over Fury is because the damage isn't as high because there is no strength buff. But if this is something that you do have, it is not a bad option and a good alternative. Now we've made it to the beverages. Before we show off what is best in slot, we want to make sure that we have the Party Boy perk card on because this will make our alcoholic beverages a little bit stronger. So, for the best in slot for one-handed and two-handed, the whiskey will give the most strength. Now, what's very nice about this is that it does stack with the vintage Nuka Shine as well as the sugar-free Nuka Shine for unarmed builds. So you'll get a little bit more damage by pairing these two together. And for those who don't believe me, we're going to go ahead and take a vintage Nuka Shine and a whiskey. And there you go. Both of them are stacked. We have the unarmed damage by 100% and the +6 strength. Now, unfortunately, for those who don't know, the vintage Nuka-Cola or Nuka Shine can force teleport you out of instances or fights once the buff runs out. There is also a sugar-free version that does not have the blackout effect that you can get from scoreboards or the atomic shop. Now, a way to counter this is by force downing yourself and respawning just before the blackout begins. This will allow you to stay in any instance and allow you to use the buff to its potential for a short period of time. Now, for an alternative for the whiskey, you can use Nuka-Cola Dark, which if you pair it with the Party Boy and Cola Nut perk card under Endurance, you'll be able to get that 6 strength there. Now, if that is something that you don't want to do, or if you don't have the resources for, you can use any kind of alcoholic beverage. It will give you +3 strength as long as you have the Party Boy perk card equipped. So now that we're here at the end of our consumables, we have our whiskey, Backwoodsman 6, our Bobblehead, our Super Chem, as well as our Deathclaw Wellington and Mutant Hounds 2. Now you can increase your damage a little bit further as a melee build by using the Weight Bench. This is a camp item that you can get, I believe, inside the Atomic Shop, or you can use other players that have them at their camps as well. But when using this will give you an additional 2 strength for 30 minutes if I remember correctly. But we'll go ahead and get the buff now and see what it gives us. So now that we got the You Feel buff strength increased by 2, let's go ahead and check the duration real quick so we can make sure. Slowly stand up, open up our Pip-Boy, and there you have it. For 30 minutes we have +2 strength. We're almost at the end, friends. For our ally buff, we have Maul. He will give you a weapon weight reduction as well as rad resistance and a +1 strength boost for 30 minutes every day. Now, how to obtain him, unfortunately, I don't know how. I don't know if he's available for gold bullion or if he's in the Atomic Shop at the moment or if he will be coming to Atomic Shop, but I'll keep an eye out just in case. Now, to quickly cover armor, armor does play a role into your melee damage. Now, what affects your melee damage is the strength rolls. So unyielding is going to be your best bet if you want to get the most damage out of your melee weapons because unyielding does increase your strength by 3 per piece. Now you can get an additional setting by if you get the +1 strength roll on all of your pieces. So if you have all 5 unyielding, that's 15 strength from just the unyielding legendary, or you can get the additional 5 on top of that. Now if you're not running unyielding, then getting the additional 5 through the legendary bonus is your best bet. So we're finally here at the end, guys. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is the full mutations and what mutations to use. Now, I like to use a wide variety of different things, and here are the mutations that I use for all of my builds. I like to use Adrenal Reaction because I run Bloodied, Bird Bones because of the Sneak, Eagle Eyes because crits, Egghead because of the extra strength or extra intelligence, excuse me, Grounded for the energy resistance, Herd Mentality because if you play in a team, you'll get an additional boost to all of your stats. Marsupial, of course, because of the high jump. Speed Demon for the movement speed. Talons and Twisted Muscles. There's no downside to using both of them because they do benefit mutations or your melees. So I recommend them both. You don't have to if you don't want to. But these are the mutations that I like to run. Now, for if you want to fully min-max your build, this is going to be expensive, but if you're able to craft multiple mutations, especially the ones that reduce your strength, and use them, you'll be able to reduce or remove the negative effect of the mutations that reduce your strength, giving you more stats, more damage for your melee build. So now that we have everything active, let's go ahead and check out what we have for stats. We have Whiskey for +6 strength. We have all of our mutations that are suppressed, so we have only positives. We have our Backwoodsman 6, so our food is going to be really, really good. Our melee bobblehead is going to be 20% increased damage. We have our balls training for +1 strength. We have our nerd rage. We have our strength boost, our super chem, our Deathwell Wellington, sorry, our Tasty Mutant Hound Stew, and all of this added together will put our strength up to 73. It is a huge, huge increase to our damage, and most, if not all, of the melee weapons that we use should be able to one-tap a majority, if not most, of the enemies in the game. That is not including the bosses. But that about covers everything, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I do hope that some of you may have found this information useful. I'm quite confident that I did cover most, if not everything, that involves buffing up your damage or increasing your damage even for the slightest. And I hope I did provide as much, if not all, of the alternatives that you guys can use. But with that, I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, I hope to see you guys in the next one. As always, happy hunting, good luck, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.